Alright, so the patch details are here for part 2 of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 update, bringing us Tier 4 Gamora and Tier 3 Groot. We got 2 new uniforms. This is going to be a rolling patch happening tonight. There's going to be no maintenance, so that's really good. However, I'm not too sure if everyone's going to be happy with what we're getting for these characters. But that being said, let's jump into it. Let's see what these guys are actually doing. So Gamora's leadership and uniform bonus pretty much staying exactly the same. They were already really good, so there was nothing to be changed here. That's okay, even though some of you guys may have been expecting something differently. I was expecting them to keep her pretty much the same. I was hoping for a new 4-star passive though, personally, because even though the 4-star passive is really good for canceling the roaring ABX, outside of that it's virtually useless. The tier 2 passive is staying exactly the same. They're not even increasing the amount of skill damage and bonus damage you're getting, but there's not really much you can expect there since the skill itself was already really good. As for her first skill, they're increasing the additional damage up from 534 to 806. The cooldown time is staying exactly the same. The physical damage percentage is staying exactly the same. The second skill, they're increasing the physical damage percentage and lowering the additional damage from 1067 to 806. The third skill, Slayer's Pain, is actually quite interesting because they decided to give her 30% HP recovery, which is really good. This is what I wanted to see. Previously, the 5th skill had a 15% heal, so they're moving the heal from her 5th skill to her 3rd skill. Besides that, they're bumping up the physical damage percentage and they're moving the sneer that was here and replacing it for paralysis and stun. Personally, I would have preferred if they had kept the sneer here because we already have paralysis on the 2nd skill. 4th skill has burn and shock, which is really good for ABL, which was not here before. We have a 60% chance to penetrate for 4 seconds. We had this previously. It's cool to see penetration on 2 different skills. It's very strange. Usually most characters will get 1 skill that has penetration. This was the case previously on the Requiem uniform, so it's not anything out of the ordinary. The cooldown times, however, are actually being increased here. Previously, it was a 15-second cooldown on the 3rd skill and a 12-second cooldown on the 4th skill. Now it's up to 15 seconds. And in the 5th skill, we have invincibility, which we didn't have before, and we have an all attack, all defense critical rate buff for 5 seconds with a 70% damage proc also for 5 seconds. It's interesting that these buffs are being reduced from 7-second durations to 5-second duration, but I'm guessing that with the 70% proc, which was not here previously, will make this worth it. Overall, I would say the best thing they've done for Gamora in this uniform, based on what I'm seeing here, is just the heal. Maybe a little bit more damage since you had the 70% damage proc and you were always procking on Ruthless Blade before. Moving on, we have Groot, and Groot got a pretty good uniform bonus, but personally I think they should have applied to everyone because Groot is a support character, should be a support character, but again, in the movie he's apparently a DPS, a very good one, so maybe they want to do that in the game as well. So increases attack by 30%, recovery rate is decent, skill damage and bonus damage is very good. They're bumping up his revive from 50% to 60%. His tier 2 passive basically makes it so that Rocket Raccoon is useless, because for Rocket Raccoon, this man only gives you 40% energy attack and only 3 members of the Guardians of the Galaxy are energy based characters: Rocket himself, Mantis, and Starlord.
This is blasphemy. This is madness!
So the fact that this is the case, this uniform is not one you want to pick up, especially when you consider the fact that Rocket Raccoon and Starlord have so many overlapping qualities. So if you pick up Starlord, there's literally no reason to pick up Rocket Raccoon, because Starlord's leadership is better than Rocket's 4-star passive, and now you have Groot, who gives you extra damage to boss types, and he's also going to give you the ability to recover 20% of your HP when you're hit. So Rocket Raccoon really and truly got shafted. I don't know what the devs were thinking with this guy. They definitely should have did him a little bit better than that. I feel like he just got done so dirty. Regardless, I think they missed an opportunity here to do something different for Groot. I think this extra damage to boss types should have gone to Rocket, and they should have given Groot something else, maybe debuff removal for the Guardians, etc. But moving on, we have Sneer for Groot on his first skill, followed by stun, then we have bleed and sneer, then we have damage accumulation for Groot for the very first time. This is very shocking. Curious to see how this is gonna play out for him. We have We Are the Guardians, which this one right here should have applied to all of the Guardians. Be interesting to see the animations for it though. My guess is the Guardians are all going to be in this skill, but it gives him all attack, defense, speed, critical rate, and gives him damage immunity. The burn and paralysis is really nice though. Then we have stun, fear, sneer, HP recovery, and a damage proc on his 5th skill for 8 seconds. Very long cooldown on this skill though. I don't like it. So even with max cooldown, 9 seconds, 8 seconds, and this is 7.5 seconds. So might be a CTP for each character, but depending on if you could insta cancel a couple of these skills, you might be able to use it with a CTP of energy. We'll have to wait and see. And how many of you guys are really going to pick up this uniform for Groot? I'm really not sure. Next up, we have tier 4 Gamora, and she gets 50% chain hit damage when attacking for 10 seconds and a heal for 10 seconds. This is pretty good. However, I don't know if this is something that I would be chasing. 50% chain hit damage seems very good on paper, but there's a cap on chain hit. So if you're running her with a CTP of energy, I wonder how this is going to affect your damage output versus if you're running her with a CTP of rage, then you get the 50% chain hit. However, this might actually be pretty OP considering the fact that we've seen Thanos hit really hard with chain hit on his tier 4, but Thanos is a completely different situation because he also got a tier 4 skill that gives him extra damage, up to 60% extra damage plus 30% chain hit, and the skill itself also gave him a 1000% damage increase. So that's a completely different ball game than what we're seeing here for Gamora. As for Groot's tier 3 skill, this looks actually really cool. I am Groot, and then you see him summon a forest and he's just walking up on you like a boss. That's kind of cool. I ain't gonna hold you, but the tier 3 itself, pretty basic. Then we have Groot's artifact, only applying to himself, I think is dumb. Personally, colossal courage, yeah, I don't care about that. 20% ignore dodge and 30% damage reduction for Groot. It's okay, but if this applied to all of the Guardians, again, I'm gonna keep saying it, I don't know why they're trying to make Groot some type of like standalone DPS or even a standalone tank. It just feels out of place. But then again, I haven't seen the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, so maybe a lot of you guys who've seen the movie prefer this approach for Groot. Next up, we have some improvements that the developers decided to make. For one, they're just changing some text for the swords to make it easier to understand. The second one is actually really annoying. It has to do with Rocket Raccoon. So instead of going back and buffing this guy and making him actually worthwhile to purchase, they decided to just basically go here, go into the character display page, and then basically at the bottom here where it says just DPS, so you know how it says boss battle and arena, and then it only shows the dealer tag, they're gonna put a support tag here for Rocket Raccoon.
You're kidding, right?
Literally freaking useless information, because no one should be buying this uniform for Rocket Raccoon, because this 4-star passive of his only applies to 2 other characters in a game of 250 plus characters. Imagine buying this uniform for Rocket Raccoon over buying a uniform for Shuri, Valkyrie, Wave, White Fox, etc. Like characters that can buff hundreds of other characters versus a character that can only buff 2 other characters. This is absolutely stupid.
There he is, beating that dead horse. Get him!
Whoever decided to go and change that text, y'all should have gone back in and then made it so that Rocket was increasing the energy attack of the Guardians of the Galaxy allies by like 500%. Like literally, even then I would say like as a support he still would be mid, because there's only 2 other characters that can benefit from that.